What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Lexi J Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Lexi Johnson. This is my husband and co-host, Brett Johnson. Brett, how are you feeling? It's day 30 of phase 1.
It flew by, didn't it?
It really did. There was one stretch that I felt like it drug on forever. And I can talk about that a little bit later. But honestly, yeah, the past 30 days have really flown by. Yeah. So if you're unfamiliar, phase 1 is the phase that follows 75 Hard. So 75 Hard is the introduction to the Live Hard program. The Live Hard program is, 75 days of completing those tasks, and then there are 3 30-day segments following that. So phase 1 is that first one, and in order to complete it, so the way that it works, it's the exact same tasks as 75 Hard, which is a gallon of water drank. You have to follow a diet, no cheat meals, no alcohol. You have to take a progress photo every day. You have to do 2 45-minute workouts separated. One has to be outdoors. And you have to read 10 pages of a self-development book. Are those all the 75 Hard tasks?
Yep, I think so.
So you have to do all of those. And then in addition to that, for phase 1, you also have to do a 5-minute cold shower, 10 minutes of dedicated visualization, and then you have to do additional critical tasks. So, assuming that you do the power list tasks already, you have to have 3 additional tasks to that, which would come up to, about 8 critical tasks a day. So it's a 30-day phase, and today's day 30 for us. So we're going to kind of recap it. Obviously, the day is not complete yet until you go to sleep, but all of my tasks have been finished. You have just one thing left to do after this.
Yep.
Yeah, I just thought that we would kind of talk about how we were feeling, because we had talked about it before we started, and just kind of going into it with a, recalibration and needing a little reset. But I think that it's always nice to talk about it in hindsight and just what we took away from it. This is the first time we've actually completed phase 1. We've done 75 Hard 3 or 4 times.
At least 4.
Yeah. I can't remember, but this is the first time we've actually completed phase 1. So it's exciting. So I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. For whatever reason, and we've just never really.
We've attempted it once.
Yeah.
And then
we started it, and I don't even remember how many days we were in, like a handful probably. And then we just elected to stop.
Yeah. We quit like a weekend, I think.
Yeah. It was one of the only things we've ever just stopped doing, and it was purposefully. It was at a point in our life where things were just really hectic, and we weren't really enjoying ourselves at the time. We were surrounded by family, and we felt like we were just taking a lot of time away from things that should have been a priority. So that was then. This is now. We figured out how to manage things a little bit better. And anyway, yeah, it's been a good experience.
Yeah, there was a stretch from day 6 to day probably 14 or 15 when I wanted to quit every single day. And obviously I'm so glad that I didn't, but it was just going into this, I had the awareness that I was starting it the same day that we started a challenge for my business. And that just comes with a lot of hectic, just abundance in that. My workload was a lot heavier. And I knew that was going in, and knowing that my workload was going to be higher, and that the volume of demands that was going to be on me was going to be a little bit more. I had intentionally done this, and truth be told, the first 2 weeks I was talking to Maiken, because Maiken started with us also, and we were like, what have we done? We are idiots for starting this at this time. But I knew going into it, if I didn't put myself into this position, that the stress from work and that volume, that workload I would have compromised on standards, because I would have put that first, and then I would have put myself on the back burner and put the non-negotiables. I would have let my nutrition slip from stress. That's the first thing that goes when I'm super stressed. I eat like an asshole, and I'm so proud that I didn't. For the past 30 days, I've continued to show up. I fueled my body well. I feel good physically. And I made it through some really hard time, some very challenging days as a business owner. And I'm just super proud. I genuinely feel very proud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like you were describing, whenever the things don't go as expected, when the things that you cannot control don't go as expected, that they go poorly, then the things that you can control, those are the things that are first to go by the wayside, because you make excuses as to why the things that you can control, or you make excuses for why you're not doing those things that you can control. Or like with eating, that's one of the first things that you and I, both, as I'm sure many of you can relate to. If you're stressed out and there's something that you can control and right in front of you, it feels good to eat a bunch of food, and then immediately be remorseful for it whenever you feel like you have a food baby afterward. Like, it just starts to get ingrained in you that you're going to do exactly what you need to do based on the things that you can control. And the things that you can't control, you're gonna manage them best you can, but the things that are out of your control are out of your control.
Yeah, and just, we say it so often, but putting your oxygen mask on first and doing the things that are within your control. Remember, you have things that you can control: your attitude, your effort, your action. And your action includes both like your physical movement, but also what you're consuming, what you're putting in your body. And I am the first that when I get stressed or when I get overwhelmed, that I use this phrase all the time, that my like Lexi J Wellness members, if they, went off the rails over the weekend or something, they'll send an assessment and they're like, I ate like an asshole this weekend. And that's the first thing that happens to me. And then almost instantly, if not instantly, it's like the next day when I'm feeling groggy and I have brain fog and I'm feeling lethargic and I just feel bleh, those days after you just eat horribly, then I immediately regret it. And it makes my anxiety and my stress, like, exacerbates the issue. The thing that I was stressed in the first place that caused me to reach for that comfort food, it only heightened that initial stress. So it's one of those things where it's such a temporary fix, and you have to kind of police yourself in those thoughts, because like it's just so knee jerk to just be like, okay, well, this is going to help in this instant. It's going to make me feel better. And I would have done that so often, because there were several challenging days, challenging like weeks out of 30 days that really tested me. And I'm just proud of, continuing to show up and continuing to just ask myself, is this what I want in the moment? Or is this what I want or is this what I want most? Or is this just what I want in that moment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I don't want to stop.
Yeah.
Are you kind of in that mode?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to St. Louis tomorrow. And I'm driving, and I'm going to wake up much earlier than I normally do, and I already wake up early, but I want to make sure that I can get my stuff done. I plan to wake up and I get in a cold shower first thing, which is crazy, because that was the thing that gave me so much anxiety, and the thing that caused me to put off phase 1 for so long. Is like, there's no way I could do a 5-minute cold shower every single day. But I've done it every day, first thing in the morning, like within 90 seconds of being conscious, I am under that water. And honestly, like within 10 minutes of being awake, you forgot about it. You're done. Like, if that was the hardest thing of your day, imagine just knocking it out 5 minutes within being awake. Makes you feel so good.
Yeah. You feel so much better whenever you get back out.
Like physically?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there's just all the what do you call it? The
evidence-based.
Well, like the serotonin, all the
dopamine. Yeah.
Dopamine. Yeah. It's just, you get the feel good things flowing, and it's just overall, it's never fun getting in. And the first minute usually sucks, but by minute 2, you're not really thinking about it anymore. And really, then I'm just showering. Like, I don't just stand there. I think that was one of the worst parts of it for me. Whenever I first started, I was like, I just stood there. I just took it.
Yeah,
I just rotate and just keep my body cold. But then it's like, okay, well, why don't I actually just take a shower? Why don't I actually just do what I would normally do in the shower, but just do it while it's cold?
Pro tip, I brush my teeth in there every morning, so I knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, and I have an electric toothbrush, so it buzzes every 30 seconds. And because I was a dental hygienist, I know that means you're supposed to spend 30 seconds on each quadrant of your mouth. So you have like upper right, upper left, bottom right, bottom left, And that chunks out 2 minutes of your time. And every 30 seconds, I would like rotate like a rotisserie chicken in there. That way it hits different parts of my body as I'm brushing my teeth. But I mean, that just takes your mind off it. The biggest thing in that first minute, because you're going to hit the panic button, you have to control your breath. If you can control your breath and manage your breathing, then you're solid, you're gold. But if you get in there and you start hyperventilating, you'll panic and then you'll get out. But I take a deep, deep, deep inhale, and then as soon as I get under that water, I exhale out of my mouth like I'm blowing out a birthday cake. And then you just keep that breathing until you calm yourself down, because it's like your body is in shock at first, especially if you're coming out of bed. Like that is a drastic temperature change. And then you just calm down. 2 minutes in, it's just another thing.
Yeah.
You're waiting out the clock then.
Was that the one thing that you were dreading going into it?
Going into it, that was something. And then just because nutrition is always something that I have to police myself about, and I knew how stressed I would be, and I know my tendencies when I get stressed is to overeat. I was just a little anxious just because I had been out of my rhythm on nutrition. And I had talked about that, a few weeks ago in the podcast. Just I had not been holding the standard nutritionally. And for me, I mean, saying that, it's a really relative thing, but I hold a high standard. And when my job is to help hold a standard for other people, I feel kind of fraudulent when I let that slip for myself. So when it does slip, I got to get on my ass, because it's my responsibility to lead by example. So I had not been on my game for a little bit just leading into it. So I just didn't feel as confident. Like right now, I'm confident that I can continue doing this. I could start 75 hard tomorrow and be fine. But it just goes to show, and I had said this on my story, but like 30 days ago, I wasn't confident that I could do 5-minute cold showers because I had never done them. And now, for the past 30 days, I have woke up and I've gotten into a cold shower every single morning. And I feel pretty freaking confident that I can continue doing that because I have built that memory bank. I've done that. I have, provided my brain the data that I can do that. So I can move forward with confidence that I can. And because the past 30 days I've showed up and I've tracked my food and I've hit my numbers and I have fueled my body well, I can move forward with the confidence that I can continue doing that. And it's a matter of providing enough evidence, and that's what you get confidence from. You don't have confidence in the things that you've never done because you don't have the evidence to prove that you've done it, that you can do them moving forward. So until you've established any sort of consistency, you're not going to have any confidence in that area.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is taking the freaking picture. Like, the picture is the evidence every single day. And you get to look at that picture every single day and see your progress. And people overlook that. They think, well, I don't want to take a picture of myself. I don't want to see my naked body or my half naked body and not be happy with what I see. Well, a lot of people come into it at a starting point if they're just, starting the Live Hard program and doing 75 hard. And they're like, I hate this part. Well, if you don't do this part, then you don't get to see how much progress you make over that time horizon. And just in this 30-day time window, like we've already these habits are just so deeply ingrained in our daily routine that it just feels normal right now. And there's really no thinking to it anymore. It's just the daily routine. And it's been 30 days. We're not even talking 75 hard, where we're talking over 2 months. Like, I've already gotten to the point where everything is just systematic, and I shaved off, like, I've changed my body composition, and I'm a very, very routine-based person. Like, I have a very stringent regimen compared to the average person, and I have already changed my body composition pretty drastically over the last 30 days, and that's 30 days.
Without really, it's not like you're in a deep deficit either.
No, yeah. My nutrition hasn't changed where I've shaved off 500 calories a day or 1,000 calories a day. Like, it's nothing crazy.
You're still eating almost 3,000 calories.
Yeah. I'm still eating just shy of 3,000 calories a day. And the difference maker is the biggest difference maker, most likely, is the fact that I'm getting a second workout in, just a walk,
extra movement,
a walk, depends on the day. And also just the 100% consistency in hitting that exact amount of calories every single day. There's no deviation. There's not a day or, 5 days in the 30 where I go to 4,000 calories or 5,000 calories from eating a extra large Andy's ice cream. I mean, there's no deviation, just 100% consistency over that short time horizon produce these results. And that's all it takes. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing drastic.
Hold on. So you're saying you resistance trained. You got extra steps in and you tracked your food hitting protein and calories and you're like your body composition better?
And
What?
And you didn't inject yourself with the weight loss drug? Are you kidding me?
Oh my goodness. Okay, we actually do have to tell a story because this is so relatable to so many of my ladies. I feel like we've had this conversation, but to paint the picture, Brett was talking about he had taken his progress photo and he came in to the living room. He was like, I actually feel so good. Like I'm actually noticing changes. Like I'm really enjoying where my body composition is going. And then he goes back into the bathroom. And he's like, just out of curiosity, I wanted to weigh myself. And then he came back out and he was so like grumpy. And he was like, I weigh more than I've ever weighed in my entire life. And mind you, probably 3 minutes prior, he was just saying, hey, I really like the way that I look. Stepped on the scale and completely changed his mood. And I had to have that conversation where I have with so many of my ladies. And I'm like, do you remember 120 seconds ago when you said, I really like the way that my body's looking because of the work that I'm putting in? And you let 3 digits on our bathroom floor just completely change your mood. But it was such a good, like, okay, this is a universal experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't discriminate. I mean, it's a mind game.
But I think it's important to share because, like, what men are talking about that?
Yeah, no, it's for sure a minority in the male category as well. I mean, all men, realistically, if you ask any male if he wants to put on muscle mass, he's going to say yes. I would venture to say that 100% of men, if you walked up to them and they answered honestly, you said, would you like to put on muscle mass? The answer would be yes, 100% across the board.
I would say so.
And if they said no, they're probably lying. And like I legit probably put on like 30 pounds of muscle like over the past how many years? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like
4 years. I don't know. Like that's legit. Like that's how much muscle I probably put on.
And it does take years.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not realistic to say you can put on 30 pounds of muscle in 1 year.
Right. Like that's just, it's true. And so this number that I continually, in all honesty, am making like painstaking effort to increase, I just, whenever you look at the scale, it's not exciting because you like what you see in the mirror, but you don't necessarily like what you see on the scale because
you have that preconceived notion of what you think is appropriate to be on the scale.
Right. Or what I've weighed before and what is perceived as healthy for like my size. But most men that are my, height and frame are not walking around with as much muscle mass.
How tall are you for the listeners? Because I know when you saying your height, people are curious.
I give myself the benefit of calling myself 6 foot, but that's like I'm like over 6 foot with like my typical shoe, but I'm more like 5'11" and 3/4.
Okay.
I weigh like 213 right now. For those curious.
Nice.
I used to weigh in the 180s. 190s. It started to tick up there into the 190s, but like I remember the first time I did 75 hard years ago, I cut hard. Like it was like I cut really hard. Like compared to what my cut is now, where I was cutting back at like just shy of 3,000. My cut then, I was in the upper thousands. Like I think I was cutting at like 18 or 1900.
Which is insane. So
that's how stringent my diet was at that point in time. And I cut down. I remember I had to actually modify my diet a little bit because like mid 75 hard because I was cutting so fast. I got down to like almost 180 and then I had to like taper it because I was just cutting because I was working out hard and taking in so few calories and I was going to destroy my metabolism.
Yeah. You were burning up muscle. To share with the audience, I am 5'8" and I weigh like 168 right now, 167 ish. So I didn't even weigh myself before before phase 1, but I would imagine I was probably around 170 flat, 171 maybe. So maybe I've lost a few pounds and I'm still eating About 2,300 calories. So a body with more muscle burns more calories.
Yeah, and that's been my goal. It's awesome to have that much more muscle to just maintain. And the thing is, once you get it built up, it's so much easier to keep, because then you could theoretically just go into maintenance, and just make sure to continue to keep your protein intake up and make sure that you're still working those muscles. And it's a lot easier to keep them once you've built them. But building them is the hardest part, and it takes a lot of time.
It does. It takes so much longer than you want to. Everything. I mean, like losing weight takes longer than you want it to happen. Gaining muscle takes longer than you expect to. But it's all a process. And the good thing is, like, there is no definitive end, because when you get there, you still need to do the work. You still need to, put in the maintenance. It's like,
Yeah. And there's this distortion of time whenever you're the person who's not doing it and you see somebody who has done it and they're like, man, I wish that I, had the body they had. I wish that I had it the way they have it. I wish I had their genetics. And they have no clue how much time and effort has been put into it to get to this point. And I still work really hard. It's not like I'm in that maintenance mode where I'm not trying to continue to get better. But somebody could easily look at me and be like, man, he always looks the same. It's good, good on him. But I wish I could do that. It's just not going to happen for me. It's just not true. It can be for anybody. It's just, are you willing to put in the time and the effort?
Yeah. Let's talk about the mental benefits from phase 1 that you've gained, and just kind of some of the things that we did.
Okay.
Okay. This is an interview where I ask you questions.
Hit me.
I'm trying to prompt you.
Repeat it.
I said, let's talk about the mental benefits. So the biggest thing really was just, and I knew this going in, just being such a stressful time for me with work, it just reestablished the standards that I know I'm capable of. And it's so good. It genuinely feels so good to continue to live up to your own standards and to execute on them. And when you've done so at such a consistent level, then anything less or anything deviating from that is kind of disappointing. It's a letdown, and it's cool just to kind of navigate that. That's one of my favorite things with clients when they've consistently executed day in and day out, and then like they had 1 or 2 days, like maybe a weekend, where they just kind of went off course a little bit, and it's usually so minimal. And then that next week's assessment, they're turning their assessment in and they're like, dang, I'm really disappointed in myself. Like I went crazy this weekend. And it's so funny because it's like 2 days out of the past month you went off track a little bit, and we course corrected on Monday, but that just goes to that shows the consistent standard that you hold for yourself, and how now you've raised the bar for yourself in all areas. And then any sort of deviation from that, it's recognizable, because it is such a stark contrast, where before, 6 months ago, that was every day for you. That was status quo. And it's really, really cool. So like now you and I are on day 30, and we've been consistently executing for 30 days. We're like, okay, well, tomorrow we're going to do the same thing, because why would we show up and intentionally lower our standards just because we're not on a program, because we checked that last day.
Yeah. My mind always goes back to like, confidence is earned, it's not given. And I think that's such there's just like this haze around confidence. Like some people have it or some people don't. And you can build confidence. Confidence is something that you can acquire, but it's not just going to happen sitting on the couch. Like you have to prove to yourself that you can do something through the execution. And then you build the confidence because you just showed yourself that you can do something. It's not just something that happens passively. It's something that it's very purposeful. It requires action, and I feel very confident right now. Like it's about impossible to come away from a program like this and not feel some sort of confidence, because you just showed yourself what you're capable of, and it makes you feel so in control. And people crave control. It's one of the basic human needs is to feel like they're in control in some capacity. And people crave control. People seek out control all throughout their lives, and they try to find it in all these different ways. They try to almost synthetically create control of their life, and that's, that can lead to substance abuse. There's all these different ways that people try to shortcut the system to get control. And really, if you want to take control in a positive way of your life, taking control of the basics is going to help get you there so quickly and help build confidence. And you can just start, these are building blocks that you can start stacking and building a strong foundation to just continue to get better and better. But it's so much easier whenever you have these basics nailed down, just your daily actions, just your nutrition, getting a workout in, reading a book that's gonna teach you something, make you learn something, and continue to facilitate a healthy mind. There's all these little tiny things, just the bare basics, the bare minimums, each and every day that you can do just to help build your confidence.
Yeah, it's just confidence comes from keeping the promises that you made to yourself. It's from doing the things that you say you're going to do. If you continually say that you're going to do something and you never show up, you never deliver on that, no wonder you don't have any confidence, because you have no evidence, no muscle memory to prove that wasn't just bullshit.
Right.
That
it's
you're
earned.
not just spewing it. Another thing that, I feel after 75 hard every time we finished, but phase 1 is no different, and it's honestly like elevated, was just time management. You allocate time so much differently when you have these non-negotiables and you understand that these things have to be completed by the end of the day.
And what time have we been getting to bed?
So there was a stretch where I was getting to bed a lot later.
Right. I mean, there with some variables thrown in, but
yeah. But we've been getting to bed at by 9.
Better time than usual.
Yeah.
Because we cut out all the BS. Like there's just, I mean, it's not like we have that much BS, but I mean, there's just like whenever the day is come to a conclusion, whenever we finished all of our tasks, whenever we have eaten, whenever we've had a little bit of wind down time, then it's like the day's concluded and we're ready to hit the sack and wake up swinging for the next one. And it feels so much better knowing that you got a full night's rest.
Yeah, I think it just kind of like highlights the things that
it's just priorities for sure.
Yeah, it highlights priorities. It highlights and differentiates the things that are progressing you and the things that you just waste time on.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, at least, that it's like, okay, we'll cut out the fluff because we already have so many things that we need to do, and it's a waste of time and energy just to do those other things that you're
now, don't get me wrong,
showing up and giving attention to that don't serve you. Right.
Don't get me wrong though. I mean, not every night is perfect. Like there's, again, we can get a distortion here of a viewpoint, of an outside viewpoint. Well, it was 100% smooth for them. They didn't have any variables thrown in. I'm trying to think how late it was whenever we got back to the house that night, whenever shit hit the fan. And I discovered that my trees had been destroyed by deer.
It was around 11. And then we still had an outdoor workout to do. Yeah,
I mean, there's stuff happens, and we didn't finish an outdoor workout until after midnight at one point in time, and it was cold and it was wet.
Just to give like more concrete example, one of your critical tasks is to dedicate 30 minutes of studying for he's learning to fly a helicopter. So he already did all of his like flight school, and he's doing ground school. So he has to study, like watch all these videos and take quizzes and, like more textbook traditional school stuff. So one of his critical tasks is to dedicate 30 minutes of studying to that. And on that day when, as he said, shit hit the fan, we were driving back at around 11, and we just kind of like, we swapped seats. I drove so he could study on the road. That way when we got back, he could get we could both get our outdoor walk in. Yeah, it's not perfect, but you continue. I mean, you adapt, you cover and move. That's a principle of,
Jocko.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just non-negotiables. You start to have these non-negotiables, and whenever we start these programs, with the exception of the one example I gave you where we decided that we were not going to continue, like there are no options. It's as this is an Andy Frisella line. It's a zero option mentality. There is no other way out. Like, it's forward, and that's the only option. There is no back. There's only forward. And that's how we operate whenever we're doing these things. And I think that if you adopt that simple, very, very simple mindset in your own life, then you'd be amazed at the progress you can make if you just simply decide to not stop.
Yeah.
And it's like you always say, it's simple. It's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I'm super proud of, we're just going to humble brag this. I ran a half marathon last week.
Casual for your outdoor workout.
For my outdoor workout. And that was the second time I think I've ran more than a mile this year.
Yeah, there was no training before this.
Yeah. Honestly, I was wanting to have Mike in on the podcast and just do a podcast with her and title it like "We Ran a Half Marathon on Zero Training."
Yeah.
And just talk about that experience. But yeah, we were.
I mean, and to be fair, it's a testament to what you do every day that enables you to be able to bust something like that out. That's not just something that, from couch to half K or half marathon in one day.
But both of us do 28-minute dumbbell workouts.
Right. It's not cardiovascular training for like running at length.
No, I think that's cool. It's a testament to LJW, and I think it's even cooler.
Right.
But
it's obviously very versatile. Like there is a lot of cardio involved, with the strength training that you do, which is
it's very endurance based.
Great for your heart and just overall endurance. As
we were running, I had asked Mike in because today is also her day 30, so the three of us did it together. And I asked her if she would have done this. So just a little backstory. And if we do get on the podcast, then we'll share that again. But the week prior, Mike and I were working together, and she had just referenced that she had one physical goal left for 2023. She's like, I feel like such an idiot that I put this on there and then I haven't ran at all. She said, I have a half marathon on my goal list. It's the only thing left that I haven't done. And I mean, I'm not going to let that just hang there. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do it with you. And within a week, I mean, that was on a Thursday. And then a couple days later, we had looked at the forecast and we're like, hey, this Thursday is going to be decent, like weather-wise. So why don't we just do it then? So from 1 week after talking, we decided to run a half marathon, and we gutted it out. And as we were running, I was like, do you think that you would have done this had we not been doing phase 1? And I don't think that I would have, just because I wouldn't have had that confidence in myself. And I definitely think that I would have been slacking and just letting my standards slip across the board. Mm-hmm. But because I, at that point, was like close to 20 days in of consistently showing up for myself, doing dumbbell workouts, and I was rucking outside, walking with weight. Like, I mean, it emboldened me. I wasn't 100% confident that I could finish it running with no breaks, but I am too stubborn to quit, and I'm too stubborn not to try. But we both finished it, and we had a decent pace.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's good self-awareness too, to like be self-aware enough to know that like being in this mode likely puts you in that position to be like, yeah, let's do it. It's you just getting that you're in a go-getter attitude where it's like, well, nothing's really off the table. Like if something needs to be done, we're going to do it. Or, if I have a goal and it hasn't been accomplished yet, then let's accomplish that goal. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a craveable feeling, and it's confidence. It's being in control and doing right by yourself that gives you that mental clarity that you're capable of way more than you're giving yourself credit for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and inevitably, like, this is like a normal thing for us to do, as we've mentioned, 75 hard every year. And even if phase 1 is something that we haven't traditionally done with 75 hard, like you kind of forget. You don't give yourself credit year round for all that you're capable of. Even if you hold yourself to a high standard year in, year out, like things just inevitably, like you slip a little bit, you let little things slip, and you almost start to just kind of, I don't know. I was personally in a position before we started phase 1 where I was just kind of like with the way I looked. My body composition wasn't exactly what I want, what I'm happy with. And I wasn't really in the mode of like making even like just like a slight tweak, but consistently, like shaving off a certain amount of calories, which wasn't a whole lot, as I mentioned before, and adding a little bit of extra cardio. And that's all it took.
And your cardio was literally, you walked. So
right. That's why I say a little bit of cardio.
Yeah, so many people I think are like, well, when you say cardio, you have to run. Like that, that probably means you ran for 45 minutes and like.
I couldn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's no excuse that you couldn't do exactly what I did as far as, just doing some very small, very achievable things. And I was just in that mode where I wasn't really making actions to change things for myself. And here we started.
Just kind of on autopilot.
Yeah. I mean,
you were good, but not.
Yeah. I mean, I was good. It's just now I feel like great. I look in the mirror. I'm like, hey, my lower abs are like really showing right now. Like it just feels good to look in the mirror and be like, okay, I can do whatever I want to do. I just have to do it. There's nothing holding me back except for me. And that feels really good. It's like a very empowering, very liberating feeling whenever you understand, like that light bulb moment, you have the epiphany that's like, oh, well, nobody's holding me back except for myself.
Yeah, it's such a cool feeling. I had a conversation today, and this woman wasn't even on 75 hard. Back to what you had said, just the simplicity of it. Just increasing your movement, your resistance training, you're tracking your food. And I highly recommend throwing in self-development books just because it transforms your mind. But just to give you some perspective of where we're at in the year and what you can accomplish, this woman I was talking to, shout out Audrey, holla. She's a Lexi Day, she's a Lexi Day wellness girl. But she had posted this Instagram post, just her side-by-side photos. So she has been with me. Well, just to give backstory, I was reading through her caption, and her caption's freaking nails. Like it's so good. And she called herself out.
Is that a thing now? Do people say that?
What?
Nails?
Well, that's what I say.
Something's nails?
I say it is.
I don't know what the kids say these days, but
I don't know that I don't know. I say it.
Should you just make that up?
Does it sound good?
I mean, it sounds like something people would say.
All right.
I just wouldn't hear it.
All right. Her caption was solid. It was so
nails.
Good. Her caption was so good, and she just talked about consistency over time, but she called herself out, and she was like, I have a quick fix mindset. Like I want it to be fixed overnight. I want my problems to dissolve, physical, mental. I want them to be done, overnight and transformed. She's like, so it was a really tough pill to swallow to understand that it doesn't happen that way, and that I have to do the hard work, and that I have to hold high standards for myself. And it's, consistency over time really does pay off. She posted this side by side. She's lost 18 pounds. And if you look at these progress photos, her body composition has changed so much. And I was just like looking at these pictures and looking at the dates beside them. And I'm like doing a little bit of math. Okay, these progress photos are 48 days apart, which, mind you, she's been running the game plan phenomenally. So she's seen excellent progress. She's lost 18 pounds in 48 days. That's really, really great. And I'm like, hold on a second. Where are we in the year? Because in my brain, November is New Year's Eve half the time. I'm like, the year's basically over. She did that in 48 days, and I'm doing the math here. There's 54 days left in the year. At the time you'll listen to this video, there's 53 days left in the year. She's lost 18 pounds in 48 days. So what can you do? By January 1st, you can have such solid habits developed. You can have an unlocked level of self-confidence. If you just do the basic stuff, if you just move your body a little bit more, if you increase that resistance training, if you track your food and just have an awareness of what you're putting in your body, I guarantee that there are some gaps that you're not taking in that you could really optimize. And then just consume good content, whether that's from reading or podcasts or, maybe filter out some of the bullshit on your social media and take in some things that make you think. Like that can transform your mind. And there are 53 days left in the school year, 53 days left in the calendar year, that January 1st is going to roll around no matter what, whether you like it or not, whether you're confident or not, whether you're in a good headspace or not. So why not try? Like, what do you have to lose of just betting on yourself for the next 53 days? What could happen? If you listen to this and you go for a walk and you start tracking your food and you pick up a dumbbell and you just do that again tomorrow, and then you give it another shot the day after that, like, don't think about it as 53 consecutive days. Just, can you show up today? And then we'll cross tomorrow's bridge when it comes. Mm-hmm. I kind of forget. I have a tattoo that says just for today.
That tells me you have too many.
No, like I just thought about that as I was talking. Like, could you just do it for today? Like, just for today, can you track your food? Just for today, can you get some steps in? Can you resistance train? Can you read a freaking book? Like, just for today. I'm not even going to make you promise about tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I guarantee if you just string enough of those todays together, you're going to feel really good and you're not going to want to stop.
Yeah. Just look at the next step.
Because that's how I feel.
Just look at the next step, not the whole staircase.
That's good. That's good, Johnson.
Somebody halfway decent said that at one point in time.
I'm pretty sure I stole that from someone.
I'm sure you weren't the original.
Yes. Yeah, I'm feeling good though. Happy day 30. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to do the same thing.
I was going to say, yeah, I'm just kind of ready to keep rolling with it. Yeah, it was immediately, if you tell yourself that you're done, it's like take your, deep breath, sigh of relief. You can let off the gas, you can just go back, air quotes, to what you're doing. Then, like, what was it all for?
Yeah.
You want to keep things moving in that direction. Like, if you feel so good right now, you got here for a reason. Do you feel better because you're doing the exact same thing that you were doing? No, you feel better because you made changes.
Yeah, I always just feel like, wow, I have this new awareness of what I'm capable of and this new awareness of how good I can feel. So then when I let those standards slip and I start to deviate on any of those areas, then I'm like slipping back into feeling worse. And I'm like, but remember how good it felt to feel good? And
that sounds like such a strange thing to say too. Like, you remember how good it feels to feel good? Like, but if you don't know, then you don't know.
Yeah, you probably just think if you wake up every day and you're tired, and
that's one of the most infuriating things to me. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But whenever I hear people that don't know what it feels like to feel good, and they just say, well, this is where I'm at in my life. I hear this a lot from people that are in like their 50s, 60s. They hit that phase of life and they're like, well, enjoy it while you're young because you'll never feel that good again. It's like, well, you've clearly given up on yourself. It's self-evident here. And also, you could change things for yourself just as easily as anybody else could, even if they're younger than you. You could change things. Now, it may be a little bit harder because your metabolism is slowing down and so on and so forth, but it is an achievable thing for you, and you don't know how good you could feel if you made the changes.
I'm like, I want to interrupt so bad. Your metabolism slows down because you don't resistance train and you undereat.
Okay.
So
Good point.
Like, you are slowing your metabolism down by not moving your body.
Exactly. Your metabolism has a direct correlation to your muscle mass.
Yes.
Which is something that we were discussing earlier when we were talking about how nice it is to have a lot of muscle mass because it increases your metabolic rate. But yes,
a body with more muscle burns more calories. So simply existing, if you have more muscle on your body, you're going to be burning more calories because it takes more energy just to function, just to upkeep, general maintenance of calories. But I want to give a really, really good example. I already bragged on one lady, but I have to brag on this one since you're setting me up. You're teeing me here. You had talked about people in their 50s just kind of like being complacent with where they are. So I had sent you the screenshot because I was like, how badass is this? So one of my Lexi J Wellness ladies, her name is Wendy. She is in remission. Not remission. I'm not really sure if it's still called remission if you're out of cancer. How far out?
Post-cancer treatment.
Yes. She had breast cancer about 3 years ago, and she's in her 50s. And because she's on hormone blockers and she's on a lot of medication, just to make sure that the cancer doesn't come back and increase her odds of not having it again, that her doctor had basically told her, like, it's going to be very difficult, kind of given a bleak prognosis. It's going to be very difficult for you to lose weight just because of the medications you're on and because, all that is entailed with your body fighting off this cancer in the past. The circumstances are kind of stacked against you. And she said she went back for her annual checkup or however often it is. She says, I'm 33 pounds lighter than the last time he saw me. And he was just like floored. He was so just surprised that she did this. And that's a testament to her, because it would be so easy to get that prognosis and lean into it and be like, well, a medical professional told me I couldn't lose weight. Yeah. So who am I to
accept it as the reality?
Who am I to give it any chance at all? Why should I try if it's a losing battle?
Right.
And she's lost 33 pounds. She literally looks 20 years younger, I swear. Yeah. She looks like she's aging in reverse. But I just think that's so cool. And that mentality, she's gritty, because it would be really hard to have that in your head and have someone that is a professional in their field and someone that's very respected, that I'm sure, is really knowledgeable, but for them to tell you it's going to be very hard for you to lose weight, but for you to try anyway, and then to succeed, I can't imagine just like how empowering that has to feel.
Right. And yeah, that needs to be
fired up.
That needs to be just like put on blast, because there's so many people that I'm sure were told the exact same thing and they didn't do anything because they just accepted that as their reality.
It's a sentence.
It makes me want to punch that doctor right in the throat. Like, why would you ever tell somebody that and set them up for failure? So that's just a mental game that you're setting. It's a mental trap. You're setting somebody else up for failure, and it does you no harm but to tell somebody, hey, it's going to be more difficult than it would be if you weren't in this scenario, but it's doable, and here's how.
And it's worthwhile. It's
exactly.
worth trying.
It's worth it for the betterment of your life. It's better. It's worth it for the betterment of your family and your friends and your overall, well-being, how you feel. Like it's worth it.
I hope she just.
Yeah, I mean, like in an ideal world, what you would hope for there is for Winnie to say, "Watch me," and then punch him in the throat and walk out the door.
I don't know that a physical assault charge.
I'm fired up about this doctor.
The case.
I just want to punch him in the throat, so
all
that's
right,
why
Wendy,
I threw that in there.
Well, Brett's coming to bat for you.
But point being, like, that's not how people normally react, because they're in an emotional state anyway, because they just got over cancer and they're looking for any sort of positivity, and then somebody's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to lose weight, you're on this and that, and it's going to be hard. And then the average person isn't just going to say, well, watch me. And she did. So kudos to you, Wendy. But yeah,
I think that's so cool.
Shut up the haters, including doctors.
I think that was so cool. I screenshotted that, saved it for the bad day folder, because that was a good one. That made me really happy.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to show up. We're going to continue, running the game plan, because it works. And I don't think you need to fix it if it's not broken.
Yeah. Really, I think we nailed it.
You feel good?
Yeah. Phase 1, mission accomplished. We killed it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And it just comes back to the basics. You don't have to do phase 1. If you manage your movement and your nutrition and you put good things in your brain, it'll completely transform your life. Remember, we've got 53 days left in the year, and that is a lot of time to make a lot of progress and really establish good habits heading into the new year, feeling strong, feeling confident, and having a little bit of momentum. So I don't see any downsides of giving yourself a fighting chance to have a good year.
Go get them.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later.